Jerome Gayman. Welcome to On Point. Today we have a actually we got three different topics to talk about. We are going to be debating one of the best debaters of his time. It's Edward Doe, my co-host. He's going to be defending several of the opposition's positions. And I, Mr. Jerome Gayman, I'm going to be defending the administration and the CDC government. We are going to be discussing the topics in Liberia now that concerns all Liberians in the diaspora and at home. We are going to be discussing the passport saga. We are going to be talking about the healthcare workers strike. And we are going to be talking about the bloody raid in Nimba or the bloody primary in Nimba. We have a few opinions. We will be asking the audience to also either call or send your questions or your concern or your comment in our comment section. We have a show for you. You're going to love this. I'm going to turn this part of it over to my partner, Edward Doe. What do you have in store?
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Gayman. This is an interesting show today. We decided to do this format because Mr. Gayman, have been supporting or backing this government for a while now. And for me, I'm a freelance writer, and also I somewhat pull some of the ideas of the administration, or administration. I've written extensively about that. So there are three issues before us, as Mr. Gayman stated: the passport saga, the healthcare worker strikes, and then also to the primary for the CPP. So these are the three issues we're going to debate. My position is clear. I'm going to be debating on the side of the con, and Mr. Gayman will be debating on the side of the pro. So that's it. Let's take it on, Mr. Gayman.
Well, Mr. Doe, as you know, I am a nationalist. I support everything that goes on in Liberia. I look for the best because those who are representing us in Liberia, they are some of the best minds that we have. They are not perfect. There is no perfect administration, but they are doing an excellent job. We also observing the barrage of allegations and counter allegations from the opposition in all forms. We are going to discuss, I think you feel comfortable starting with the passport saga, or you want to start with the healthcare. For us, it doesn't matter. We have the data, we have the information, we're ready to go.
Let's start with the healthcare. The healthcare workers strike.
Okay.
For me, my position is that the workers supposed to strike because of three basic things. First and foremost, there is no hazardous pay for the COVID-19 for the healthcare workers. The government have not done anything of that nature to pay them hazardous pay. The government have not issued them enough adequate PPE, for the healthcare workers. Some of these healthcare workers have gotten infected by the COVID-19. And then the third issue here is that the government is behind your pay. They haven't paid the healthcare workers for a month, and the payment is very low too. So the government have to raise that. So therefore, yes, they are right to strike because first and foremost, all these three things are important to the healthcare workers. They need to be paid rightly. They need to be protected as well. And then also to their pay grade need to be raised. That's my position.
Well, Mr. Doe, let's take it one at a time. Obviously, I don't know if you are following the situation on the ground, but the healthcare workers, they have 8 positions. Number one on our list is that they want to be unionized. They want the government to give them the provision and the right to be certificated as unions. That is one. They're also asking that they get their hazard paid, which is fine. That's also fine. 2, 3, they're asking for a pay raise, and they want to do it over a certain period of time. And 3, they do not want the 9,000 COVID workers alone. They want to bring along 11,000 new other employees within the healthcare system to the tune of $15 million US, and they want all at once. And 4th, according to the Daily Observer, their release says that their positions are unbending. They are not going to waver. And like one of the folks said, I think one of the questions we asked was, if these are your concerns and you are the bargaining table, why are you going to the U.S. Embassy? Why are you going to the UN? Why are you going to the EU? And from what we are learning is that the objective there is to embarrass the president, or to shame the government. So those of us who are legitimate nationalists find that this is not how you compromise. This is not how you debate. This is not how you go to a bargaining table. You do not go to the bargaining table be an absolutist and say this is it or not. And you cannot leave the bargaining table and go and bring in outside sources. The EU is not going to deal with you. The EU didn't hire you. The US Embassy didn't hire you. The United Nations didn't hire you. So why are you leaving the bargaining table with the government and you are all over the place? So these things you are talking about are not based in facts. If you were talking about that the salaries have not been paid, that's not true. Salaries are up to date with the employees. They are talking about the arrears on the hazard pay. The hazard pay, yes, they have not been paid, but the government made a conscious effort to offer $2 million as a settlement towards the hazard pay. And then everything else will follow. One thing that's off the table is the unionization, because that is based on, it's a legislative work that has to be done through the House of Representatives. So that is off the table. That would be illegal. Third, we have the Liberia Medical Dental Association that serve as an independent arm to negotiate on behalf of health workers. They are saying something different, and the health workers are saying something different. So if this is the case, do we say we had the Liberian Medical Dental Association that were brought into effect by a legislative order? Do we scratch those because they are independent folks? Do we abandon them? If we want to do that, it's a process. We have to have that legal document amended. And how do you amend a statute? They know that. You go through your local representation and you present an amendment. That has to be done, Mr. Doe. Well, it has not been done.
Well, I understand some of the position you have listed, but I disagree with you totally. First and foremost, I would like to register that I am a nationalist. You know, you're not a nationalist more than me. I'm a nationalist because I speak on behalf of the Liberian people. I don't speak for the government. You, on the other hand, you speak for the government. So I don't know how can you be a nationalist if you're speaking for the government, not for the people. Now, let me make that clear. Now, this issue about unionizing, you know, I think you got it wrong, Mr. Gayman. The fact of the matter here is that these healthcare workers have the right, the legal right, to want to be unionized, to speak with one voice. Now, you mentioned about the Liberian Medical Dental Association. You said they are independent agency that's supposed to oversee these healthcare workers. I disagree with you. They are not independent. They don't speak for all the healthcare workers. They only speak for the dental aspect of the medical. So for you to say that they speak for the entire nation healthcare workers, that's wrong. Now, on the aspect of becoming union legally, you got it wrong also. All right. Now, to become a union, you know, you have to have the groundwork first. They can set up shop to be a union, say, listen, and negotiate with the government. Say, listen, we want so and so pay. Now, how do you legitimize that? The government would look at that and say, yes, okay, we agree, but these are some of the guidelines we don't want you. After a year or so, you increasing it, you asking for more, you asking for more. So they will have to have some constraint there. And to make that legalized whatsoever, make it legitimate, that's when the law comes in. Then maybe they will have to go to the legislative branch of government to write some sort of a law that way both parties will abide by, or they will take it to court so that both parties can abide by that. So it does not need a referendum, as you are saying. No, I disagree with that. That's wrong. The people have the right that they want more pay or they hire some money. They will have the right to say they should be protected on at the working place. The working conditions have to be conducive for them. So therefore, yes. Now, in terms of calling in a third party, I think that's the right too. If they want a third party to come in to be a mediator, like the UN or ECOWAS or things of that nature, they can do that, to speak on their behalf to the government. Why is the government refusing it? Why is it the government now is trying to replace these workers with workers that don't have the experience? It means that the government have taken a position that they do not want to bargain. They do not want to come to the table and meet these people halfway, the health workers halfway. So for you to say the government is willing to bargain, to come to the table, that's not right. That's wrong. They do not want to come to the table by the fact of the matter that they are replacing these healthcare workers with people who are not.
Mr. Doe, let us not just talk from the top of our heads. You are not following the situation on the ground, because if you are following the situation, you have known that 2 weeks ago, the health worker met with the president and his team for 8 hours. And they negotiated. Okay, well, so how can you say with a straight face that the government is not ready to negotiate? So, Mr. Doe, how can you with straight face say the government does not want to negotiate when we were in the room negotiating, and we made. And let me make this disclaimer. When you say that I speak for the government, I do not speak for the government, because I am not a government employee. I am a supporter of the administration, and I am a Liberian that wants to see stability in our country. And what I'm saying here is what has happened, what has transpired is the right thing the administration is doing. Now, and I'm going to say this, I've been saying this before. In my hometown of Buchanan, last week, when Ablija TV, which is the local television, went into the ICU and the emergency room, there were no medical doctors, there were no nurses, there were sick people in critical condition walking around, some with IVs in their arms that were there prior to, and they were abandoned. Now, when we talk about the Hippocratic Oath, to do no harm, who in the world, where the doctors in the world will abandon their critical condition patient because their needs are not met? In that case, it is critical. The president took an oath to protect its citizen. It has the right to replace those workers and save lives. We cannot, this thing has been dragged on for days, it's going to weeks, it may go to months. We cannot have people in critical condition waiting, okay, for doctors to settle their pay dispute. We can't do that. The president has the right and the authority to replace those people to save lives.
Okay, let me come in there. All right. You raise a good point that the government has a right to protect life, and in this case, the people that are critically sick, that have been hospitalized. But in that token, if the government knows that they have this right, then they need to come to the table and negotiate with these healthcare workers and meet them halfway, or come with some a policy or something to say, listen, we're going to do this, do that. Can you give us some time, a memorandum, that give us some time. Let's work this out before you leave the job whatsoever. But the government is not doing anything of that nature. For the fact the government is not heading in the direction as you speak of, trying to replace the healthcare workers, says that they don't want to negotiate with these healthcare workers. Now, you are saying the government is going to replace these healthcare workers with who? With unqualified healthcare workers? Where are they going to find the qualified healthcare workers if all of these healthcare workers have abandoned their position? Are they going to save lives that way? Put some unqualified people there that do not know how to operate those machines, how to do an IV and things of that nature? Is that how the government wants to save lives? By putting people there that have no idea of these things? If that's the case, then the government is totally wrong. The government needs to sit down with the healthcare workers and say, listen, let us work out something. Let us work out something. Soften their position. The government needs to soften that position. The government doesn't have any leverage yet. The healthcare workers have a leverage. That's why they work off the job. That's their leverage. All right? The government has a leverage. So they need to bring them back and say, listen, go back to your work. We're trying to put something together. And the president, too, I think, should speak to the nation on this issue. You should not hide behind it. You need to take a leadership role. And he has not done so.
Well, I know those of you from the opposition, especially the ANC and the CPP, like you guys, your biggest dream is that the president should speak to the nation on everything. There's a rice. They were doing the rice benefit. You want the president to speak on it. You want giving petition. You want the president to come down and speak on it and personally hold and take the petition from your hand. Now we are talking about healthcare. You want the president to speak on it. Some people from the passport department said, so this president is going to be speaking to the nation 24/7 where he has work to do. Now, this is what we are talking about. Look at some of the demands that these people are making. First of all, one of the demand number 5 is that they should give them a tax break. They should not deduct any taxes from their pay because the government owes them hazard pay. Now, if we don't pay taxes, they are talking about 11,000 of them, okay? If 11,000 workers in the country do not pay taxes, where do we get money from for their pensions, for retirement, for operation of the state? Where in the world do you say, give us a tax break, we shouldn't pay taxes until XYZ? That doesn't happen. It wouldn't happen. The other point is that they should bring back their partners that were redundant, that were retired, pension. They want their partners to be brought back into the workforce. And the government has made it clear, when you reach certain age in Liberia, you have to give way to a new generation of leadership or professional folks. You cannot have people 75, 80 years like your friend Joseph Boyka and all these people sitting there and want to be on the job until they die. And then young folks do not have, why are they going to the universities and colleges? They have to get into the workforce. So these striking workers are saying they want their bodies to be brought back into the workforce. That is unacceptable. It is something that I find to be terribly, terribly wrong with our people. They are injecting politics into this. And we want to disengage when it comes to politics. This is health. It should have nothing to do with politics. Now you talk about the Liberian Medical and Dental Association.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Now you are telling us about the Liberian Medical Dental Association that they are only representing dental. No, if you've been following the situation, all their press releases, they are asking and appealing to the health workers to go back to work. They are appealing to the Liberian government to go solve and be reasonable, that they get back to the table. But the government has already been on the table. We put $2 million on the table. We cannot pay you everything from Ebola to now, but we can give you $2 million as our good faith negotiation so we can move forward. What is wrong with that? Tell me, what is wrong with the $2 million being given to you?
A lot of things are wrong with that. A lot of things are wrong with that. I'll start with the $2 million first. First and foremost, if you do the calculation, if you do the math, okay, $2 million cannot cover the hazardous from the time COVID-19 strike for all these workers from the period of time. So the government is a bluff right there. All right, the government is not negotiating at all. It's a bluff. So that I will table that. Let's go to let me speak on the Medical Dental, Association. They don't represent the entire healthcare workers. By them appealing for them to go back, whatsoever as an organization. Yes, anybody can appeal to the healthcare workers to go back. But when I say they do not represent them as an entire healthcare worker, they only represent a portion of that, which is dental. That's why they're called Medical Dental Association. Now,
so
if they had something like a ACLU or something like that nature for healthcare workers that represent the entire healthcare of Liberia, then that's a different aspect, which means they will be more independent. There will be more of a union. We don't have that. That's why the healthcare workers are asking to be unionized. This way they have a voice. They have a voice. They can make a demand to the government. Now, going to taxes, you raise the issue of taxes. If you owe me money, and I say, you know what? You owe me all of this money. If you don't have the money right now to pay me back, if you're taking out some portion of my money out, for taxes, why don't you not take that money out as a payback? This is what they're asking for. Do not take up the taxes. Since you owe us all this money in arrears, let us not pay taxes for the time being. You do the math. When that time reaches, you pay us, you have paid us up, then you can go back and start taking taxes out. That's their negotiation. Now you talk about bringing back their former police pension. You have a health crisis. You have people on pension that are more experienced. Why don't you bring them back to help with the COVID-19 crisis? That's what they're asking. We're not enough. We don't have enough. We don't have the manpower. Bring these experienced people back, so that it can help us with the health crisis. You're not paying the pension for these people, on a regular basis in the first place, so why don't you just put them back on the job? They have the experience, they have the expertise, so that they can help with this crisis. So these are good positions. The government is not seeing it the way they are seeing it. To me, I think these are good positions that make a lot of sense to kind of help with the healthcare crisis and help with the COVID-19. The government should not be in arrears with the people on hazard. Why did it take them so long? What if they had not strike? The government was willing and going to pay them a health hazard? No.
But Mr. Doe, how do you know first of all, do you know the amount that the healthcare workers are asking for? Do you know what is owed? I know what we've presented to them as a settlement, $2 million. It's been public, it's transparent, everybody knows that. How much do we owe you, the opposition or the healthcare? Do you know how much we owe them or how much they are not putting any numbers here? They are not bringing any number. We give them the numbers. We made a good faith settlement, $2 million, and we continue from here. What's wrong with that?
A lot of things wrong with that. Even though they haven't given the government a number, but that number is not, it doesn't mean that they don't have a number. Maybe they're working the math state, but that number is not a number that they feel that will solve, the arrears in hazmat, so therefore they cannot accept a number without them doing their own math at that point. So they cannot, they are right now to accept a $2 million as an offer, as a settlement. No. The government can just throw out money there or throw out an arbitrary number, and then you expect the healthcare workers to agree with it. That's not bargaining. There's more to this bargaining here. Not so much of the hazard also, but there are other issues too the government is not talking about. They're not willing to settle on. So those are some of the things that need to be settled on too, not just the hazard money, as you say.
So what are those things that you see? This is why I like to debate the opposition, because you guys, I can't see your face. One of the things that you guys do is you just throw out allegations, you throw out stuff, and to me it sounds like you guys just talk from the top of your head without actually concentrating on anything. Because according to what we've been reading, we've been following this thing here. Okay, now you are saying the Liberia Medical Dental Association only represents the dental part of this, and that's not true. It has a medical component. It covers the whole gamut. But anyhow, say you don't know that, and all you are concentrating on is to score cheap political points. If it's time for politics, we'll discuss politics. But let's stick with the fact. This is medical. People's lives are on the line. These people do not have to have their buddies. We know they have a clique. All of these folks belong to the same fraternities and the same sororities. Their buddies are old enough and they all retired. They want to squeeze the government to bring these people back into the workforce. But guess what? The people that the government is appealing to now to come in and refill some of these positions temporarily are the same retirees that went off the jobs. We are appealing to the medical school, all the nursing schools, okay, to send the best and the brightest. In fact, it would be even better for them to come and actually learn on the job under the auspices of those who have retired already. until these people can come back to work. But we cannot have our emergency rooms, our delivery rooms, everything left as they are. We got pregnant women in the delivery room. They are in labor. And we don't have midwives, we don't have doctors, we don't have nurses. What kinds of workforce is this? You can defend them, tell me.
Yes. First and foremost, I want to speak to the medical dental issue here. Because you have the word medical. Am I speaking? Okay. Because you have the word medical in the World Medical Dental Association, doesn't mean that they cover the entire healthcare. No, that's a fallacy. Because you have the word medical. The dental aspect of this, that's what the association is about. It's a medical dental, not a medical healthcare, that covers the entire, healthcare area, whatsoever. And healthcare doesn't mean that it has to be medical. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be medical. It has to do with crisis management, those kind of things. Health crisis management, those kind of things. That's what we're talking about here. So we don't have an association or organization that can manage that. And, so therefore, it's best for these people to advocate to be unionized. And that would give and set some stage as to how we're going to manage some of these things, the healthcare issues, pay raise, PPE, how we're going to protect the working conditions of these people in the healthcare industry and things of that nature. Now, I want to go back to the point you made about the opposition, does not understand the issue. No, the opposition understands the issue. As a matter of fact, I'm not an opposition. I'm an advocate. But we understand the issue. I think the government does not understand the issue. The government that you support does not understand the issue. Because the government that you support understood the issue, the government will not be thinking about going to get, students who just entered a nursing school, not graduate yet, to bring them in the field and expect them to learn on the job. Who's going to be training them? Who's going to be teaching them? The workers have all walked away. Who's going to teach them how to you run those instruments, things of that nature? Who's going to show them that? That's a death sentence you asking the government to do. If I had a patient in there, if my, a relative of mine was in hospital, I wouldn't want these people to work on my relative. They don't know anything. What the government should be doing is trying to get these workers back on the job, not trying to replace them. That should be the position, That should be the position.
It is the position, but Mr. Doe, okay, I'm going to give you, I know obviously you don't have all the data, as always, like the opposition, when we talk about COSTAR and all of these folks, you guys come out and you talk about things that maybe you have a very limited idea about. But let me read to you the mission of the Liberian Medical Dental Association, okay? And it says this, it was established by an act in 1963, okay? To act as the national representative body for the medical profession of all medical professions in Liberia. So here it is.
Medical.
It's in black and white.
You said medical. I'm talking
about
health.
It's
different.
We talk about medical.
Medical is different from health.
Edward, don't split. You're splitting hair. All the medical profession in there,
medical profession,
including allied health, including allied health.
We're talking about health,
including allied health.
No.
Including allied health. Okay. Mr. Doe, as we conclude on this topic, I just want to let you know that for the union, for these folks to be unionized, they have to go through the House of Representatives. They cannot go to the president. They have to go to the local representative. It has to be done through an act, just as this was done. Okay, and we have that already. For that to be done, for this group to be replaced, it has to be done through another act. That's all I'm saying. Thank you very much for the topic.
Well, there's my conclusion. The healthcare workers have the right to unionize. The government should not deny them. The WIA administration should not deny them for unionizing. They need to come to the bargaining table. Once they strike a deal, and then they can take it to the court, so that the court can, make them to adapt that, make it legal, so that they can move on and stay with that bargaining agreement. That's all is needed. It does not need no act, as you're saying. No, we don't need an act, for that. We don't need it to go to the legislative branch of government so that it can be stalled. No, the people need to get unionized so that it can be protected. Now, if the government wants to stall this, they are doing a fine job by stalling it. That is why they want to bring inexperienced people in the medical, in the healthcare industry to man, and manage the Liberian healthcare. That's bad. That is not good planning. That is not a vision for this government, and that is not leadership.
Okay, guys. Our second topic is the passport saga that is going on in Liberia. And obviously, we are in a political season. So we're having allegations flying from everywhere. And the allegation stems from a criminal, a convicted criminal by the name of Wamplo, a man who has been fired, arrested, imprisoned, or jailed for selling passport by this administration, by this government, is now coming back to say, yes, I'm a criminal. Yes, I stole passport. Yes, I sold passport. But now I just had this epiphany that now I've just remembered that the president, the foreign minister, this is a bigger syndicate. I was told I'm just a regular guy who is the bearer of the message, but actually somebody made me do it. This is where we are at this point, and the opposition and folks who are not ally of this government want to take a criminal's perception of what happened as facts. And all I'm telling them here is I am here to debunk, and I want the opposition or anybody in the audience to please send us the facts as it relates to 500,000, 200,000, 250,000. Please send us the fact. We want to see email. We want to see return checks. We want to see deposit slip. We want to see, like in America, the FBI say, if you don't want to know the fact, just follow the money. Let's follow the money. I am ready to have that debate with you, Mr. Doe.
Well, Mr. Gayman, you sound like there's a conspiracy here that the opposition just concocted, to blame this administration for passports that have been sold illegally. Yes, people at times can have an epiphany, meaning that they can regret their actions. And in doing that, they can also say, okay, I was working under the authority of this person and they instructed me to do such and such. They are my boss, doing such and such. But my guilt, my conscience have taken over, and I want to speak the truth. And this is exactly what this guy did. His conscience have taken over. He wants to speak the truth. The truth here is that he was instructed by people above him, such as the president and some members of the president that surround the president and have the proximity to the president. So be the conduit to sell this passport illegally and fund the WIA administration or WIA pocket. So that's what happened. So if he starts saying it comes from the horse's mouth. Somebody who was who was head in the passport department. There was no way he would have done this on his own for several months. Without nobody catching it. So it means that high up were there. For it to go that far and for him to sell that number of passports, there were high up dealings in there.
Okay,
so his conscience have come to play. And he's speaking the truth. Now, you talk about you want to see text messages, you want to see phone recording messages and things of that nature. You know, Liberia is not in that advanced mode whereby we can keep those kind of documents. Even if we have it, most likely have been destroyed. Okay? But it's coming from the house's mouth. And I don't think this guy will put his life on the line, his credibility on the line to put the president in the ring of this thing. You know, there's some valid points that he made.
Mr. Doe, okay. So you are saying Mr. Wambler is putting his reputation on the line. Listen, I don't want to be comical here, but you got me cracking up. I'm laughing like I almost fell off my chair. It's like John Gotti telling you that he is the most reputable person in New York City. It's like Al Capone telling you that he's the best banker in town. For a man who never had that epiphany from the time he was working. In fact, do you know how long that Mr. Wampler worked in that department? Mr. Doe, do you have an idea how long Mr. Wampler worked in that department?
Well, he was there extensively.
Yeah, what is extensive? Don't come with that political talk. What is extensive? Tell me. Opposition, tell me how long.
I can't give you an exact number.
Okay,
but he was there for
I will help you. I will help you. He was deputy director of Passport Honor Ellen for 12 years. And according to the investigation now that is going on, it was doctored that he did sell passport to Ghanaians prior to this administration coming in. So this is nothing new to this guy. It was this administration that actually brought him to book. It is this administration. And when he had a chance to go to court, he didn't cry for a speedy trial. He didn't cry to the Supreme Court that I want to vindicate myself. He did none of those things. He actually tried to run to escape from the country. And little does he know that the United States government, the EU, ECOWAS, they are working in conjunction with the Liberian government on these issues. So we are waiting for you, Mr. Doe, and your compatriots to bring up facts. Don't tell me there is no email communication between Mr. Wampler and his boss. Second, the chain of command, the passport director has no direct line with the president of the republic. The president of the republic sends his command down to the minister of foreign affairs, who in turn deal with his subjects. So it is impossible for him to have said the government wrote him, instructed him, but he cannot provide any email, any documentation, any letter, anything of that nature to say yes. Of the thousand, in fact, you guys don't know how many passports that he actually had in his possession. From what I'm reading here, from Nyobli Kanga Lawrence in her release, she is saying that Senator Finley and Wampler sold 4,552 passports. Is that possible? Please answer that question.
Mr. Gayman, have you read the passport policy for Liberia? Have you read that document?
On the policy. Let's go. I'm asking you a simple question.
No,
I don't want you to pivot. I would not like you to pivot in this debate. Let's discuss that. Do you know how many passports were sold?
I don't know the number. I'll be exact with you. I'll be frank with you. I don't know the number of passports. I know it was a lot of passports that was sold.
Okay, thank you. In the court of law, you just lost because you don't know. You're guessing.
All right, go ahead. Not because I don't know the number doesn't mean I'm lost. I told you I don't know the exact number. It doesn't mean I'm lost. I know there's a lot of passports sold. Let me ask you this question. Have you read the passport policy of Liberia?
I got, it's a long one, but tell me which one you're reading. Tell me what it says.
Oh, I should tell you.
Oh, you're not only dealing with me, you're dealing with the audience.
If I go with what you just said in a court of law, then you have lost to it. I should tell you what.
I'm reading it to you. Tell the audience what law have we broken. Tell me what law that we have broken.
The reason why I brought the passport policy up because it's the fact that there is a procedure before a passport is issued.
That's correct.
Okay. In that process, where does that process begin, Mr. Gayman?
Okay. I'm going to debunk, because that's what I'm here for, to debunk what the opposition is saying, the CPP, the COP, Edward Doe, all of that. I am going to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, evidence. I got 2 passports here. 2.
Yeah. So what does it mean?
Okay.
It's Liberian passport.
Both of these passports were issued by Mr. Wamplo in different years. This one was 2014, expired 2019. This one I renewed in April 2019.
That's your passport, your Liberian passport.
Yes. So now tell me, if this man stole all the passport, the 4,500 passport, whatever the number is, he sold all to diplomats and people for $250,000. So you are telling me, how could that be possible when I have in my hand a legitimate passport that I pay $100 for them to expedite a passport? Okay? So
I don't understand your point, Mr. Gayman. I asked you a question about the process.
No, the process here is I went and applied for a passport. I went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, fill out the paperwork. They say, after they check my legitimacy, my Liberian citizenship, and all, they sent me to the bank section of the foreign ministry in the basement there. I went across the street to the bank and I made my deposit, and they gave me the receipt. And I took.
Yeah.
Let's take you home safely.
You too.
Excuse.
Right. Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Doe?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go in a private place where you can
so we can go there.
Okay,
you can go.
Great. So
go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay. So I went and paid my money to the bank. The bank gave me a receipt. I took the receipt back to the passport section. They stapled it to my application. They stamped it as clear. And I went to Mr. Wamplo, and he has several of, there were about 100 people there in line. They put my application in the queue. And I went back when it was time to get my passport ready. They called me. I went and picked up my passport. And that's what everybody else were doing. That is the process. Now, I don't know what else, if there's another process that you know that I don't know, but that is the process. Now, according to the law, the president has the authority, the executive order to give diplomatic passport to people of interest to the country, such as investors, people who have the money to come and do good for Liberia. The president also has the right to give those passports to consuls outside the country in countries of interest. For instance, I'm in Florida here, where we do not have a Liberian consulate. We do not have a Liberian embassy. The president, if it need be, the president has the right to appoint a Liberian consul here. Honorary consul, that person could be a Jamaican, could be a Dominican, could be a Mexican, as long as that person is vetted. And once the NSA and the host country clears that person is entitled to that honor. So these people are not just people that you walk off the street. They are talking about drug dealers and terrorists and all that other stuff. That's not how it works, my friend.
Well, you just made my point clear. The president has the authority.
Yes.
To request for a certain amount of passports.
That's correct.
All right. So why do you think the president did not request Wamplo for a certain amount of passports that perhaps were paid for, but did not go into the coffer of the Liberian government, but went into the coffers of the president's pocket.
Now you're guessing. No, you're guessing.
This is what Wamplo is saying.
You are
this
guessing.
Is what Wamplo is saying, that
he's a criminal.
He was instructed by the president to issue this number of passports to people, and the money perhaps came in, and it didn't go to the coffer of the Liberian government, but it went to the president's pocket. That's illegal.
Well, Mr. Doe, and this is why you guys are having problem with this, because there is nothing there. Because if there were evidence in a court of law, Mr. Doe, we cannot take your assumption. We cannot take your assumption in the court of law. You need to bring me evidence that you were instructed to do so.
This is coming from a player, the person who was playing in the game too with the president.
Listen,
they say you cannot.
Mr. Doe, anybody, you cannot take a person's comment, a person's word for it as evidence. In the court of law, you need evidence. If you say,
he's a direct witness.
What direct witness? If you
he was a participant in this scheme.
If I told you the president instructed me to give passport to Mr. Doe, okay, well, we know very well it's impossible because you are not in the chain of command for the president to call you. President will easily call based on gut feeling and say, listen, I need X, Y, pass. And you saw some of the pictures. It is not hidden, it's transparent. When these things happen, it happens at a ceremony. They don't just take your passport and give you diplomatic stuff overnight or under the table. It is a ceremonial stuff where people go, and you saw the pictures. It is transparent. There is no proof that $250,000 changed hands were transferred from this bank to that bank.
Just made my other point.
Was done. It never happened.
You made my other point. You say it's ceremonial. So the president can skip that ceremony. He doesn't have to have it.
Oh, come on.
He doesn't have to have it. It's not by law. He doesn't have to have that. It's not by law that you have that ceremony. It's ceremonial.
No, Mr. Doe, you're getting it wrong. Ceremonial means, when we say ceremony, when the person is made a diplomat or the person is made a consular, it is ceremonies that goes on. It's a process that goes on, and everybody there is
when the president requests to issue passport to investors, they have a ceremony also.
Listen, when the person is given like in this country, okay, in this country, the minimum that is required to be considered an investor to have that privilege is $250,000 in this country. If you can invest $250,000 in this country, you get that visa, you get that privilege automatically. That is something you can.
You're talking about America. I'm talking about Liberia.
Listen, I'm telling you this. So there's a process. There are applications that are filed. They are vetted by the NSA and the host country. For instance, they are talking about the gentleman in Mexico, okay?
The president, this guy, and Wamplo is saying the president did not follow that process. Let's move on to the next.
There is no one that will, no government, the American government or Mexican government will not allow anybody in their country who is not vetted. It's not possible. So it is innuendo and it's gossip and it's fine because you cannot. We are waiting for the evidence, Mr. Doe. Mr. Doe, I got $5,000 on there. I'm waiting for that evidence. I'm sending it live. If you find anybody in your system that can produce the facts, it's $5,000 US. It's here. Show me the evidence that these people were terrorists, they were drug dealers, they were money launderers, they are rapists, according to your boy Costa. If you show me
do you know that in the Liberian passport policy that non-citizens can be given Liberian passport?
Non-citizen, yes.
So you know that?
Yes, non-citizen can be given Liberian passport, yes.
All right, so granted Liberian passport for acting under the authority of the president.
Of
Under the
course,
authority
I
of the
just told
president.
you. Yes,
Or by the determination of the president.
that's
the president
correct.
can determine.
Yes.
So then why you think this passport it cannot be sold by the president if he has this kind of authority?
You are leaving a caveat which is they have to be vetted through the NSA. The president makes a request. They have to be vetted.
That is not what the policy says.
Well, that's what the policy. That's what it is. Well, you are reading something. You are reading something. You are reading from something from Facebook, my friend.
I'm not reading anything from Facebook. This is the Liberian policy.
Show me the policy. When was that? What policy you looking at? When was it passed?
This is a revised policy.
When? What year are we talking about there?
It was passed before this man came into power.
What year? Just give me the year.
Let me go back to the policy and see what year it was crafted. Hold on a second.
Keep looking, because usually you guys, you're going to pick up some from Charlie King days and say this is it. When we have one that was revised, the new one that was revised in 2016. Go ahead, tell me, what year was that? I know Costa sent that to you, so I know it's fake.
It was revised November 2015.
2015.
15.
And who's the author of that?
The Liberian government is the author of that. What do you mean by
that? Okay, let's look at that, because first of all, we said it, when you go down, there's a procedure, there's a process. Just like when I go, even I'm a Liberian citizen, when I want a passport, there's a process. You fill out the application, you go through the process, and you get that. The president has
the authority to determine and issue a Liberian passport.
The president cannot issue. The president, obviously, you're getting it wrong. The president can nominate someone and say this person should be given a passport. NSA has to actually vet that person, and if the person is coming to the United States also have to vet that person. The United States is not going to allow terrorists to come here.
NSA
do not allow, and NSA does vet the person.
It's not in there. It's not in there. The president have a blank authority to, ask, request for passport for certain non-citizens, and determine who can get a passport by a non-citizen. He can determine it. Non-citizen, not NSA. NSA can determine. NSA can determine. The president has authority.
Listen, Mr. Doe, you are taking this. You are taking it on the face value when you are not actually looking at the details.
I'm not taking it. I'm going by the law.
When you apply for passport.
Maybe we need a change. Let's move to the next one. Let's move to the next one, please. Okay. Let's move to the next issue.
What is it you want to? What is it you want to live? Whatever you want to work on now?
Let's move to the after we have three issues. After we have three issues, the issue of the primary. The primary.
Yes.
The CPP primary.
Yes. Tell me, you as a member of the CPP COP/COP, tell me your number one allegations have been that the CDC cannot and does not carry out a competent primary system. And you saw over the 15 counties, CDC went to the polls and voted in every primary without a pin's drop. It was so efficient. You guys said it was staged. And then all hell broke loose when you went to do your first primary in Nimba, where we heard there were shots being fired in the hall, people blooded everywhere. The three collaborating partners, the four partners were at each other, they were lockerhead, they were fighting. Tell me how you become the alternative to our government or recently installed democratically elected government with competent people doing competent work. Tell me how you become an alternative in a bloodbath.
Well, first and foremost, I would like to tell the audience I'm not a member of CPP, COP, ANC. I'm not affiliated with any political party. I'm a freelance writer. I'm an independent thinker. So I criticize all the parties, when they do wrong. Now, to your point, yes, CDC may have carried on the primary without no hiccups. That what happened in Nimba with the CPP primary, definitely it was a disaster. And I blame Cummings for that. He is the head of the CPP. To me, he did not demonstrate his leadership. To me, he doesn't appear to be a leader. A leader unites, doesn't divide. And for this primary, I think he played a role to divide. For his party, that he is the political leader, ANC, to disagree with the result of the primary tells me that Cummings is not a leader. First and foremost, Cummings, as a leader of a CPP, he agreed on a primary. He agreed on a primary that the CPP should go ahead and have a primary. So for his party, ANC, to kind of dissociate himself or do not like the result and say, you know what, we don't like the result of this primary, so we want to back out of it, to me, shows that Cummings is not a leader. His own party is the back out of it. It shouldn't have happened at all, And if I was member of a CPP, I would ask Cummings to resign.
Well, we have been telling you guys, for those of you who write, I follow your writing. You can't convince me that you are not a member of the opposition. You can say it 1,000 times, wouldn't make any difference. In fact, you have supported candidates from our camp, all the candidates you have supported, and we warn you that nobody in the opposition is prepared to replace the mighty coalition of democratic change. There's nobody ready in the coalition to mount the podium to succeed Dr. George Manning Weah-Bekube. Nobody. We have told you this, and it's coming to fruition that not Yuri, not Sleepy Joe Boykai, not Cummings, or Nyobli Kanga, nobody. You have seen this with your own eyes. First of all, Mr. Cummings, who is actually a TWP or True We Party personnel in disguise, coming back as an ANC, came up with a policy a year ago where he said they would prefer the old order, the Tubman-Talbot way of selecting. They call it voter perception. He said he did not believe in the will and pleasure of the people. Instead, he would prefer something called voter perception. So he will pick who he wants based on what he thinks the people are thinking. We told you it was dangerous. We told you these folks were not ready. And now thank you for admitting that this man is not a leader. And the Liberian people were right to give him 7%, and this time he's going to be worse than 7%.
Well, it appears that you and we agree on one thing today about the CPP, failed and primary, So therefore, I think I want to leave it like that. It was a good debate. We share different perspectives on issues. And definitely we'll meet again and talk and debate on something else again. Or maybe we can expand this debate at some point. I think we're up for time. It's 9:18. So I don't know whether we want to go to the phone quick and take some calls. Yeah. Okay. All right. That was my concluding statement.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to serve on this platform. We want to extend our thanks and appreciation to Focus on Liberia and the teams of engineers in the background making us look good. Our sound is good. We are very, very grateful. I also want to leave with the Liberian people the fact that what we are doing here is healthy. We have opposing views. It is good for us to do this than go into the bushes. It is good to do this than take knives at each other. We are glad that we have the platform and the technology to do this. We want to let you guys know that Liberia is for everybody, and we want you to get involved. But let us be politically correct. Let us be reasonable as we make our connections with our families and friends from back home. I want to thank you, Mr. Doe, for being very, very cordial, because as I know, in Liberia, they don't look at each other as opposition, they look at each other as enemies. And we are not enemies, we are children of the same parent. We have one thing in common, the love of Liberia, and let's continue the dialogue. And thank you very much for Focus on Liberia.
Okay.
We are Liberians.